Hi, I'm Brian Haberlin, and I want to tell you a little bit about my new book coming out in October, Hellcop. Hellcop's been rattling around my brain for decades. When I launched Avalon Comics with Whilce Portacio, Hellcop was one of the initial launches, but I was wearing a lot of hats back then. So I gave over the reins to Joe Casey and Gilbert Monsanto, and they did a great job, but it was my baby. If you look at sketchbooks I've done over the years, there's Hellcops throughout. There are pages started, stories started. So let me tell you a little bit about the story. Discovering a whole new world that had only previously existed in our collective imaginations. A tale of adventure, betrayal. Hell's just another place, another planet with native creatures most on Earth would call monsters. And humans that have been there as long as they've been here. Doctors, lawyers, maybe too many lawyers. Please join me in October for the release of Hellcop and the Hellcop 3D Halloween special. Hey, I want to say thanks for watching, and I really hope you can go and ask your retailer to pick up Hellcop for October. There's going to be a 3D version with 3D glasses and the whole 9 yards, and the regular version, of course, too, with some pretty fun covers. Thank you for your attention, your support, as always, and hope you guys have a great day.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. I am your host, Fitzbonwalla, and we've got a ton of freaking news today, plus a deep dive into one of the characters coming up in the MCU. So really, we just got to get right into it here. But like I said, we have just an absolute ton of freaking news. We're going to kick it off with they just put out a new trailer, not more of a teaser, for Hawkeye, which is debuting on November 24th. Well, we'll be getting 2 episodes at once. So just kind of like what WandaVision did, where they put out 2 episodes at the beginning of the... Yeah. You realize we're still in the same year that WandaVision debuted. A lot of stuff has come out this year. But I think the reason that WandaVision started with 2 episodes and Hawkeye is starting with 2 episodes are going to be very different. WandaVision started with 2 because they had that sitcom theme in the beginning, and it didn't really start feeling like an MCU project until the very end of episode 2. So I think they felt they needed to put both of them out. Plus, they were half-hour episodes, so they really wanted to get people hooked. But with Hawkeye, I think it's a completely different reason. I think it has to do with the Book of Boba Fett. Now, that's scheduled to start on December 29th. And Hawkeye is believed to be 6 episodes. So if they started on the 24th, released one a week, it would end on December 29th. The same night, making... I think it would bring down the Disney servers is pretty much what it would do if you had both the finale of Hawkeye and the beginning of Book of Boba Fett dropping at the exact same moment. I have a feeling that Disney would have a hard time keeping the streaming service working. So now what they're doing is they're giving us 2 episodes to start, and then we're going to get the finale on the 22nd, which means that this Christmas-themed series is going to wind up just before the holiday. So I think that works out really well all around. And good news for those of you who were worried about Clint's marriage, being that we never saw his wife. Well, in the little teaser trailer, we see Linda Cardellini back as Laura Barton. So she's still around. Don't worry about it. She's still there. Clinton's still married. He just took the kids to go see Rogers the Musical. Makes sense, right? All right. And speaking of Book of Boba Fett, I know a lot of people were concerned at the end of Mandalorian Season 2 when we saw the scene and the clip for, or the tag for Book of Boba Fett, because it said, well, Christmas 2021. Well, that's when Mandalorian Season 2 should come, right? Because it always runs around that. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe we weren't going to get Mandalorian season 3. That's kind of what people was thinking. I mean, Grogu's gone. He's off with some Jedi now. Yes, we all know who. And they can't really have a show without the child, right? Well, it turns out they can. And now it's in production. We learned, thanks to Carl Weathers, the former Rocky star, is returning for more adventures as Greef Karga. And he's also slated to direct another episode. He did one in season 2 called The Siege. And if you remember that one, it felt almost like a video game where they're basically going into a Imperial base or whatever they're called at that point and trying to destroy it. And in doing so, they learn what Grogu was being used for. And he had, Mando had to fly back to the city to get back to the baby because he was worried about him. But yeah, so that whole thing, that was all Carl Weathers directing, and he's going to come back and direct another episode. Now, he did a great job on that episode. I remember it, like I said, feeling like a big action video game thing with that troop transport dropping off of that cliff and the speeder bikes chasing after it and the TIE fighters coming into the valley. I mean, that was awesome. So I can't wait to see that. And I'm kind of curious to see who they get to direct in season 3. I mean, we've had Bryce Dallas Howard, and we know that she's going to direct in Book of Boba Fett, but she's also got the reboot of Flight of the Navigator coming up, so maybe she won't be back. Taika Waititi is directed in the first season, but not the second. Peyton Reed came in and directed 2 episodes in season 2. Don't know if he's coming back because he's tied up with Ant-Man and the Wasp right now. So it'll be curious to see who comes in and directs these episodes. So we know one of them's going to be Carl Weathers, but who else is going to be behind the camera? That's going to be something important to find out as we move along. All right. Another big thing, then you might see some news today, and I don't want you to worry about it because there's going to be people talking about maybe Tom Holland's run as Spider-Man coming to an end. And I like I said, I don't want you guys to get worried about that because I don't believe it. There's a quote going around from an interview Holland did with Entertainment Weekly. And the quote says, "We were all treating No Way Home as the end of a franchise, let's say. I think if we're lucky enough to dive into these characters again, you'd be seeing a very different version. It would no longer be the Homecoming trilogy. We would give it some time and try to build something different and tonally change the films. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But we are definitely treating No Way Home like it was coming to an end. And it felt like it." Now, to most of you, this will be obvious, but this isn't the end of the character or of Holland's time in the character as the character, but rather the end of the John Watts trilogy. Now, by the way, all of the Watts ones had home in it. That's why he's talking about it being the Homecoming trilogy. But the character's going to continue with a new arc, probably a new director, as John Watts is going to move on to the Fantastic Four next. And eventually, decisions have to be made on whether Spidey's going to stay connected to the MCU or if he's going to go live in the Venomverse now. So there are definitely things are going to change. You're probably going to have a new director, but Holland is likely going to stick around. The character is going to keep existing. And I think as long as Sony and Marvel can keep good terms, then Spidey will just kind of jump back and forth where they need him. But I think all that Holland is basically saying is that, the future is unknown at this point for sure, but they're putting the wrap on this Homecoming trilogy. When we see him again, he probably won't be in high school anymore. He'll probably be in college or out living in New York City in the world type of thing. It won't be him in high school anymore. And it's time to move on from those characters, So we're going to get that trilogy wrapped up, then he'll move on to something different. But don't take what he said as this is the end for his time as Spider-Man, because I just don't see it. So, okay, want to add on to something that we talked about last week. Letitia Wright, there was reports from the Hollywood Reporter that Letitia Wright was saying a lot of anti-vaccine rhetoric while on the set of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And it took a little while, but the actress has now come out and denied the allegations. She posted on, I believe it was Instagram, "It saddens me to have to address the reports published by The Hollywood Reporter on October 6, 2021. The report spoke about my conduct on the set of Black Panther 2. I honestly assert that this was completely untrue. Anyone who knows me or has worked with me knows that I work incredibly hard at my craft, and my main focus is always to do work that's impactful and inspiring. That has been and will continue to be my only focus." Now, we know that there was some videos and stuff she posted a while back on Twitter that went against vaccines. It was anti-vax stuff. And we're not sure if she's vaccinated or what it is, because that's not come out, and that's her business. But it caused a big problem at the time. And, she deleted her Twitter account. Now she's on set, and what a conversation where somebody is speaking their views, whether you agree with them or not, doesn't necessarily mean that they're expounding rhetoric. She could have been in a conversation with somebody else overheard it and thought and described it in such a way to The Hollywood Reporter. There's a lot of ways that could, or it could just be somebody out to kind of get her. Who knows? All I know is that she's come out and said it's not true, and The Hollywood Reporter can come back and give its evidence, whatever, but it really doesn't matter. What her vaccine beliefs are. If she's being safe, the production's being safe, and the movie is moving forward, that's all that really matters. So I'm hoping this puts an end to it, because I got to tell you guys, I'm a little sick of the negativity that's out there nowadays with all the, we find out this about this star and that about that sports guy, and, and where they're horrible things, it just, we're tired of the horrible. We really would like the horrible to stop, So, if you've got an opinion that I'm sorry. It just is a little over the top sometimes, isn't it? Just a little much, and you just want to be able to enjoy going to the movies, enjoy watching TV or watching sports, because we need the escapism. That's comics were always the escapism, and movies and stuff like that. And we need that stuff. And we get enough of the real world in the real world. When we go sit in a movie theater, we want to divorce ourselves from all of that and just take in the 90 minutes to 2.5 hours or whatever the movie is of enjoyment. And I'm just sick of having all of this tied to it. This person said this, so they need to be taken out of this show, and that person. And it's like, can we just enjoy the movies again, or just read the comics? Or if you don't like what somebody, if you don't like somebody, then don't go see their movie. If you don't like the comic where it's going, don't buy it. But it doesn't need to be a big campaign to destroy everybody's reputation or the world or whatever. Just calm down. Just let us enjoy our escapism again. All right. That was a side rant I hadn't written up, but okay. Now, by the way, folks, don't forget that this Saturday is DC Fandom, and we're likely to get some big trailers and teasers for the upcoming film and series. I know we can expect a new trailer for the Batman, and probably one for the Peacemaker series. I would also expect to see some footage from Black Adam, and possibly some teasers from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And just so there should be a lot of fun stuff coming out of DC Fandom. Also, if you sign up to see DC Fandom, they're giving away free NFTs. You get one for just signing up, and then when you get that one, they offer you another one for posting on Twitter that you got the first one. So I don't understand NFTs. Maybe I'm too old. I might need to bring somebody in just to have a conversation about NFTs. But yeah. All right. Let's pop over here real quick. Darius says, "Bro, have you seen The Searchers?" I don't believe I have. But I will take a look and see what that is. But it's not ringing a bell off the top of my head. It's an old film. Okay. Oh, The Searchers. That's like a very old film, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's vaguely popping back in my brain. It's been a long time. Uh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I remember it now. I believe I have seen it, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. But yeah, I'll have to refresh myself on that. Why does he save Debbie? Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to refresh myself on that. Give me a few days to do that. Maybe next week, hit me up with the same question and we can talk about it. All right, let's keep with the news. Are you guys fans of the John Krasinski-led Jack Ryan series? I have absolutely loved the first 2 seasons, and you'll be happy to hear that while production on season 3 has just wrapped, so we should be getting that soon, the show has already been renewed for a 4th season, and word is that Michael Pena from Ant-Man and a bunch of other great stuff will be joining the show. So, but we still have season 3 to look forward to, which doesn't have a premiere date yet. But the story is going to be about Jack being on the run in a race against time, which he's always in a race against time. But here he's being wrongly accused in a conspiracy and suddenly finds himself a fugitive out in the cold. He's being hunted by the CIA and an international rogue faction that he uncovered, forcing him to go across Europe to prevent a massive global conflict. Now, along with Krasinski, Wendell Pierce will be back as James Greer, and Michael Kelly is going to be back as Michael November. So, like I said, absolutely love the first 2 seasons of Jack Ryan. I forget about them, though, because they come out, and they drop all at once. And I'm really, this is a good example of the binge format versus the weekly format. And I'm really starting to like the weekly format better than the binge. Because it's great to sit down and just binge a bunch of episodes, but then you forget about it. You watch them all, you talk about it for a couple days, and then it's gone. Where if it comes out week to week to week, you're talking about it week to week to week. And I get to have shows about it every week where you get something like, the difference between Star Wars Visions and The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch, we had 11, 12, 16, whatever, I don't remember how many episodes it was, but weeks of talking about that show. Star Wars Visions came out, I talked about it for 1 episode, and it was gone. So I think if you want to build up the following of a show, the weekly format is the better way to go. It just works better because, Only Murders in the Building. I finally caught up on that. I binged the first 8 episodes. I'm absolutely loving it. I got 2 episodes to go. I'm probably going to be talking about that more. I'll probably do a whole show on it next week when it wraps up. But, The Witcher was a great show, but we talked about it when it came out and then it was gone. So I'm really leaning towards liking the weekly format. Plus, you kind of get more involved in the story and you want to wait for the next one and the next one. Where the binge one, you just come out and you just sit, and then the only one you really talk about is the finale. It's like, look at The Mandalorian season 3. Or season 2. If we did that in a binge format, the appearance of Ahsoka Tano, the appearance of Bo-Katan, Boba Fett's return, all of that stuff would have been overshadowed by the season finale episode. That's all people would be talking about is the character in the last few minutes, where instead it stretched out over 8 weeks. We gave everything its proper due. So, the Cobb Vanth episode got plenty of attention. So just that was a side note. But all right, good news from Deadline. The Eternals movie has earned 2.6 million already in advance ticket sales in just the first 24 hours of being on sale. That is an 86% hike over Shang-Chi, which made 1.4 million, and it's it's a 30% rise over Black Widow, which had 2 million in the same time frame. Now, also AMC is reporting that the Eternals has had their largest day one sales across all of 2021. So this is boding really well for the franchise, and you can tell that Marvel's really pushing it because they're putting out new little key videos and stuff almost on a daily basis. And there was a recent trailer that really ties it into the MCU. They're showing footage from Ant-Man and Avengers Endgame and all this other stuff to tie it heavily into the MCU, even though the Eternals is likely going to be kind of on the outside of it for now. You know, what Chloe Zhao is doing, it'll probably be, they may not even come back until after whatever she does with episode 2. It's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy. They were completely outside of the MCU until Infinity War. They had 2 full episodes where they had no interaction with the MCU, and then suddenly, boom, they're part of it. So, all right. That, I think, covers all of the news today. Why, yes, it does. So, all right, we are going to talk about Echo. We're going to do a deep dive into Echo, and she's a pretty interesting character for a couple reasons. She's a Native American, part of the Cheyenne Nation. She's one of the very few deaf characters in comics, let alone a deaf hero. And if you just did a quick glance over the character, she would come across like Elektra with Taskmaster's powers. I mean, I hate to say that because the character has been grown into so much more, but she really was, in the beginning, it just felt like they were trying to do the Elektra saga again, just from a slightly different angle. And you know what? But writers have continued to find unique ways to use her, giving her multiple aliases and even a major power upgrade recently. So, I mean, huge power upgrade. But we're going to get to all that. She first appeared in Daredevil number 9 in December of 1999, and she's credited to David Mack and Joe Quesada. Now, the character's origins are closely tied to Daredevil's archenemy Wilson Fisk. Her real name is Maya Lopez, and she's the daughter of Willie Crazy Horse Lincoln. He's a mob enforcer for Wilson Fisk, and he ends up rubbing the boss the wrong way one day and got himself killed. Now, as he was getting killed, he asked Fisk to look after his daughter. Now, that seems kind of weird, you know. You done bad, I'm going to have to kill you now. Will you take care of my daughter? Of course I will. Blam. And then when he dies, he left, somehow he gets back to his daughter, who doesn't know that Fisk is the killer, and he leaves his bloody handprint on her face, which would later inspire her look as Echo. Now, Maya had been born deaf, and Fisk decided to honor the request and sent her to a boarding school where her abilities became evident after she used her abilities to duplicate any movement to play a song from a recital perfectly. So basically, she watched someone play the piano and then walked up and played the same song perfectly. She became she then gets sent to a school for prodigies where she becomes a concert-level pianist, a gifted ballerina, a highly skilled acrobat, and an Olympic-level athlete. But Fisk also has her trained in many martial arts. He's basically taken advantage of her photographic reflexes to create the perfect assassin. And by the way, the term photographic reflexes is the same term they use to describe Taskmaster's powers in the comics. Now, in the MCU, they changed her to being somehow enhanced and getting the fighting abilities uploaded into her brain. I'm not sure how it's supposed to work, but it doesn't quite seem the same as the character in the comics, besides being a different gender, but it's just very different in how his powers work in the MCU. So they might have changed it knowing that Echo was coming. They went, well, we could make Taskmaster a little more like this and leave the photographic reflexes for Echo, because it does seem kind of weird that these characters with very similar powers are coming out so close together. But yeah. Okay, as an adult, Fisk decides to use her against Matt Murdock. He convinces her that Murdock thinks Fisk is a bad person, which he does, where Maya sees Fisk as kind of a surrogate father and doesn't know he killed her real father. Fisk also knows how Murdock's powers work and knows he would believe her because she believed it. So basically, she believes Fisk is a good person, and Murdock can sense when somebody's lying. So, perfect person to send in because she truly believes Fisk is a good person. Now, the blind lawyer and the deaf pianist hit it off, and they quickly fall in love. And I'm starting to think this might be Murdock's real superpower, is the ability to attract women. I mean, come on. He's had relationships with Black Widow, Elektra, Karen Page, Typhoid Mary, Echo, Heather, I don't remember her last name. There was a blind girl he was dating. Of all the characters in comics, he is constantly in a new relationship. And it seems very weird for a character that is driven by Catholic guilt and trying to honor his father and just has all this going on. He's constantly in relationships. And maybe it's the bad boy broken aspect that some women are drawn to. I don't know, but yeah. Matt Murdock gets the girls. Ladies love the tortured guys, exactly. So, all right, we're going to pause here. Let me remind you guys that coming up tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, is going to be What's in the Box. The magical box contains Sailor Moon Mags, a super cool collection of high-end modern G.I. Joe figures, graphic novels, and more. So you're going to want to stick around and catch What's in the Box with Miss Jen as she goes through this amazing box. So let's go ahead and jump over to our commercials. We'll be back in just a minute. See you soon.
Watching Minute to Skim It on the Experience. So, hello. All right, we've got lots of books to review for you guys today. And Hannah just basically showed up just the number ones and showed them to me, and I was like, "Oh, we have
just for the indies,
just for the indies." Yeah, I was like, "We have got a lot to do."
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are doing a deep dive into the character of Echo. She's going to be a big part of the MCU going forward. And, let's figure out what she's all about and where she might fit. So let's pick it up from where we left off and Daredevil's insane dating life. But so he and Echo hit her off, or Maya. Well, Maya then asks Fisk who killed her father. That's the thing she's wanted to know. And he tells her Daredevil. So now, of course, Daredevil didn't kill her father, but so he sends basically Maya to Murdoch and then as Echo after Daredevil. And she ends up watching fights between Bullseye and Daredevil to kind of figure out how he fights and stuff like that, and how, because Bullseye is the one that does beat him, and they end up, she ends up tracking him down, and as they fight, they have a series of fights, and each time he ends up getting away or whatever, but eventually she figures out what his weakness is. And their next fight was in a setting that worked against his heightened senses, allowing her to easily beat him. And she would have killed him. But then she discovered that Daredevil was also Matt Murdock, the guy she loved. Now, this gave Daredevil a chance to explain what's going on, clear up Fisk's lies. And Maya then turns around and goes after Fisk. And ends up shooting him in the face, not killing him, leaving Fisk blind of all things, which starts his downfall as the Kingpin. And this led to a bunch of stuff in the Daredevil comics, but, turning Fisk blind was kind of an interesting twist. Now, Maya is overwhelmed by everything she learns, and she ends up leaving the country for a while. But then when she returns to New York, she wants to rekindle her relationship with Matt. And like I said, he's already moved on to someone else. See what I mean? He's dating a blind girl now. She also learns that Fisk is still alive and in his prison. She visits him there, and surprisingly, he doesn't blame her for her actions. He actually tells her that he loves her like a daughter. Now, this just really, really messes her up. So she needs to find some peace, and she goes to the chief of her tribe. And he sends her on a vision quest to calm her soul, and she ends up meeting and befriending Wolverine. Because when you think of a calm, peaceful soul, you think of Logan, right? Nobody better at calm, peaceful. Well, Logan helps her recover, and he kind of tutors her in the knowledge of Japanese culture and Japanese organized crime families, because that's pretty much all he knows. It's kind of his thing. It's kind of like if you start dating somebody and they collect something, you learn about that because that's Wolverine. He knows Japanese organized crime. And at the end of the quest, Maya does find some peace and returns to the performing arts. But the Japanese organized crime thing kind of leads her a little more into that Elektra mold. Just saying. Now, that right there would make for a decent TV series. But the character starts taking some major turns at this point. When Brian Michael Bendis and David Finch relaunched The Avengers in November of 2005, they added a character named Ronin, a martial arts expert in all black who definitely appeared to be a guy. I mean, it really did seem like a guy. And this was Bendis' attempt to create a mystery to go along with the new team. But it quickly became the top fan theory that Ronan was actually Matt Murdock in disguise, which Bendis has admitted was the initial intention, though he denied it in multiple interviews. He then switched it up. When the character's identity was finally revealed in issue 13, it was Maya Lopez. She had joined the team at Daredevil's request, and she felt that she would tarnish the hero's reputation by working with them as Echo, so she got the new costume that would completely conceal her identity and gender, and took the name Ronin. Now, Daredevil recommended her to Captain America to assist in capturing the Silver Samurai in Japan because now she's an expert in Japanese organized crime. After being with the Avengers for a while, she then heads back to Japan to keep an eye on the Hand for them, who is now being run by Elektra, as well as keep an eye on Silver Samurai and try to solve the conflict between the Hand and Clan Yoshida. Now, this leads to Maya and Elektra fighting and Maya being killed, only to be resurrected by the Hand as they plan to make her an assassin. Exactly like Elektra. Elektra got killed, resurrected by the Hand, and turned into assassin. But she is rescued by Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Doctor Strange, Spider-Woman, Iron Fist, and somebody new in the Ronin costume. Well, if the plan works, exactly. Now, while they think they get her out safely, she's actually been brainwashed. And when she gets a chance, she stabs Doctor Strange. But the Doc astral projects himself and helps clear her mind while they try to save his body. She then goes after Elektra and stabs her, who we discover is actually a Skrull. And they get out and and Strange uses a spell to confirm everyone else isn't a Skrull, except for Spider-Woman, who betrayed the team and made off with the Elektra Skrull's corpse. And we find out that Clint Barton, Hawkeye, is the one now wearing the Ronin suit, and he offers to give it back, but she's like, nah, you can keep it, as thank you for saving my life. Also, it probably stinks like Hawkeye now, so you can have it. That last part was my ad. So this, of course, was the start of the whole secret invasion thing, with the Skrulls coming in and Spider-Woman being a Skrull. So she's, but she stayed with the New Avengers for a while, since they were fugitives at this point, and they ended up involved in the whole secret invasion thing. After helping to save the world, Maya ends up moving out to Los Angeles. And I hate this part because it's so cliche. Where she goes undercover as a stripper. But Moon Knight attacks a meeting she was in, forcing her to blow her cover to rescue it. Then they're both there trying to figure out, someone is trying to become the new kingpin of LA. And they're trying to figure out who it is. But now they're starting to work together. And they're looking for who's running the crime in Los Angeles. And it turns out to be Count Nefaria. Also, Maya and Spectre kind of start a relationship too, though it's more Mark liking her than her liking Mark. Now, while cleaning up the criminal hideout, they're attacked by Nefaria, and Echo gets killed, or seemingly killed, which sent Moon Knight into an absolute rage, and he brutally beats Nefaria in revenge. But Echo would turn up a few years later to team up with Daredevil to stop Claw from taking over New York City. Now, there's no real details on how she came back to life, but that's kind of her gig now, is that she just gets resurrected. So, yay comics. Now, then her story takes an even sharper turn as Maya is chosen by the cosmic entity known as the Phoenix Force as one of a group of potential hosts. And the Phoenix empowers all of them and then have them fight each other to see who's the best. And Maya Echo, whatever, draws the shortest frickin' straw. She is pitted against Namor, who also has some Phoenix Force in him now, and they're fighting at the bottom of the ocean. So, like, home turf advantage, anybody? And of course, she lost and was left for dead at the bottom of the ocean. But the Phoenix Force was particularly drawn to Maya's suffering as well as her ability to adapt. And I guess when she was using the Phoenix Force powers, she used it in a lot of different ways than anybody else did. So the Phoenix Force actually resurrected her. And, third resurrection, and chose her to be the new host. So Echo resurfaced from the ocean and went around absorbing all the Phoenix energy from all the other contestants, making her fully the new Phoenix. She then went to Avengers Mountain so the team could kind of figure out her new condition. Now, since then, she's appeared in the Heroes Reborn saga, which is a complete side trip. There was this whole fake universe thing, and it involved President Coulson and his Pandemonium Cube, and them taking on the Squadron Supreme. And she was all part of fixing reality and returning her home. But needless to say, she's now the Phoenix. She now has Phoenix's ability in the MCU. So this character has gone from an Elektra clone to being Phoenix. And in the middle, she's dressed as a guy working with the Avengers. And she's only that because readers figured out it was supposed to be Daredevil. Told you, she's an interesting character. All right. Now, what do we know about her appearing in the MCU? And why is it in Hawkeye? Well, she does have a connection to Hawkeye, being they both have used the Ronin disguise, and the upcoming Disney Plus series seems to be focused on his time as Ronin. Now, you remember that after his family got snapped away or blipped away or whatever we're calling it nowadays, he went on kind of a killing spree, was taking out a bunch of bad guys. Well, that was kind of the basis for what's going to happen in the series, is that people figure out it was Hawkeye in the Ronin costume, and all these crime families and stuff are going after him. That's pretty much what this new series is going to be. Now, it also seems to be borrowing a lot from the Matt Fraction and David Aja run in the comics, which involved a lot of different organized crime groups, including Kingpin, who Echo starts off working for. Now, they've cast Alaqua Cox, a Native American actress who was also born deaf. Now, and also in the comics, Hawkeye becomes deaf. A couple different points, but so there's also that connection there. But now, other than an appearance as herself in a Hollywood Insider back in 2018, it looks like the Hawkeye series is going to be pretty much Alaqua's first major acting credit. But Marvel must be really impressed with her and what she's done so far, as they've already have a spin-off series of her in the works, according to rumor. I mean, there's been no official, but it's coming from all the reputable sources. And the rumors say that her series will feature, and this is the less verified. This is completely unverified. But rumors say that Charlie Cox will be back as Daredevil in that series. Vincent D'Onofrio will be back as Wilson Fisk in that series. And it'll basically be a soft reboot for all of the Daredevil characters from the Netflix series. It'll be kind of like a fourth season of Daredevil, though they're also talking about actually there being a Daredevil project in the works. Now, if I had to guess how she's going to be used, I'm thinking that we might get a Kingpin cameo, and he sends her after Clint Barton for all the trouble he caused the crime families as Ronin. And I would say they probably have her switch allegiances and join Hawkeye and maybe even wear the Ronin suit for some reason. But that idea gets a little complicated when you factor in the post-credit scene from Black Widow. And spoilers if you haven't seen Black Widow yet, and I don't know why you wouldn't have. It's already back on Disney Plus for free. So the end credit scene has Val, Contessa Val, or that big long name character. Basically, we find out that Yelena Belova, Black Widow's sister, is working for Val, and she gets an assignment to go after Hawkeye. And the picture of Hawkeye is him in the Ronin costume with the helmet off in the rain. So it's like, okay, she must have gotten that information from the auction or whatever it is that's going on. And it's all part of the Hawkeye series. Well, she's supposed to appear in the Hawkeye series. And since she already knows that Clint and Natasha were close, there's a good chance that she's going to go, but she'll switch allegiances and end up helping Hawkeye. And you really can't have two people doing that in the same series. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have two people sent after Hawkeye and then both of them switch allegiances. He's not Matt Murdock, for God's sakes. He's not that charming with women. Now, if they do that with Yelena, then they can keep Echo as a bad guy here, then have her spin into her own series. And it's hard to keep her as a bad guy in her own series, but if they do have the Kingpin, they send her after, he sends her to Matt Murdock, and they follow the Matt Murdock story there, then it kind of works, and she gets her redemption arc in her own series. So that starts to make a lot more sense. So that's kind of where I think it's going to happen. But then again, also we have to keep in mind that Secret Invasion is going to come too. We know Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel L. Jackson are cast along with Olivia Colman and Emily Clark, and a bunch of other people are coming up in Secret Invasion. So Echo's got a lot of places she really could turn up. She has a lot of different connections to the Avengers, to Hawkeye, to the Secret Invasion, to Skrull. I mean, so it looks like she's going to be kind of a hinge pin character going forward. Now, I started off by saying that she's basically an Elektra clone, and early on she really was. So much so that instead of playing into her Native American heritage, they decided to shoehorn in a connection to Japan in the hand. So I don't know if that was really where they should have gone with the character, but that's where they did. And her time as Ronin made her somewhat unique, but then her going undercover as a stripper in LA just seems really cliche. And she's dead and been resurrected multiple times. By the end of the day, she's now running around with the powers of the Phoenix Force, and that's definitely something different. So at least they've got a new angle to play there. But I'm looking forward to seeing how she's portrayed in Hawkeye, and maybe that'll give us some clues what's going to happen with her going forward. But it definitely does seem like she's going to be a major character going forward. And again, they've got this actress who doesn't really have a lot of screen credits, but they really seem to be pushing her. So, and if she doesn't work out that well, instead of doing an Echo series, you do a Daredevil season 4-ish thing and just make her part of that and let Charlie Cox run that series. But so you got a lot of options there. It really comes out to how fans react to her here in Hawkeye. And we don't know how big her role is going to be in Hawkeye. Now, I have a feeling she's going to be a little bigger and a little more in it than Yelena Belova. But we have to see. There's so many pieces in the Hawkeye series, and every time I see a clip for it, I get more excited for it because it really does have that die-hard feeling. Let's see. If there's anyone who can pick out young, promising talent, it's Disney. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about that. I don't know who the casting people are over at Disney, but they are brilliant. You know, I mean, I cannot think of it. Just in the beginning, they had a little bit of a problem. You know, Terrence Howard didn't work out, and Ed Norton didn't work out. But since then, they've done great. And if you look at the Ed Norton casting, from what I'm understanding, and I've seen some things recently, that Ed Norton was Universal's insistence. Now, I knew that the director wanted Mark Ruffalo, and the studio said, no, he's not a big enough name. Let's go with Ed Norton. But what I'm hearing now is that the director, Louis Leterrier, I think his name is, or I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head, but the director and Marvel wanted Mark Ruffalo, but Universal was a little bit more in the driver's seat, and they're the ones who made decisions like, we're going to go with Ed Norton because he's a bigger name, and we're not going to give Abomination ears because people won't understand that. And I don't understand that one at all, because he looks absolutely awesome in Shang-Chi, and I can't wait to see him in She-Hulk coming up. So that is our deep dive into Echo. There's some great comics out there if you want to pick them up to read. I would go back to the original Daredevil storyline with David Mack and Joe Quesada's art. I remember reading that when it came out. That was a really good run. The Ronin stuff was really good. That was David Finch's art with Brian Michael Bendis on the New Avengers. So you pick up that. Probably the first 2 trades cover that. Might go into the third. I don't know how big the trades are, because it was the 13th episode, that issue that it was revealed. And then, of course, Secret Wars or Secret Invasion, you can get into that. And then the whole new Phoenix thing is a recent, And Heroes Reborn, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed the Heroes Reborn storyline. If you're looking for something to read that's completely outside of the main continuity, that it's got a bunch of one-shots attached to it, and it's got the main story. That was really good. I picked up all of those issues, and I have them just over here on the left of my desk that I still need to put away. But that was a lot of fun too. So you get if you want to see Echo in action there with the Phoenix powers. I'm not sure exactly where the Phoenix Force thing took place, but I'm sure you can find it pretty easily. All right, that wraps that up. Now, update on some other stuff. I will be getting back to the Lost Symbol. I'll probably do an episode about that. I got 3 episodes in. I was going to click on the 4th one, and it turns out that the first 3 issues on Peacock are free. After that, you got to go up to the $4.99 or $9.99 pay tier. The difference between the $4.99 and $9.99 is the commercials. Their commercials aren't that annoying, so I wouldn't pay the extra $5. But I do enjoy the Lost Symbol, and I'm going to end up paying for it. But I'm probably going to wait to get a couple more episodes in, so I only have to pay for it for a month, because I don't really see a lot of other stuff on there. So I'm probably not going to keep it going until they get more stuff. But I'm going to get back to the Lost Symbol. Loving that show. Rick Gonzalez is on it from Arrow. The guy playing Robert Langdon is really good. It's a fun series, so I do recommend that. Also, this last weekend, I binged Only Murderers in the Building. Like I said, I got 8 of the 10 episodes in. The 9th one dropped this past week, but I can't watch it yet because I'm watching them with Lisa, and I have to wait, and we'll probably wait for the 2. So once we're done with all of them, then I'm going to do a whole show on that, because that is an absolutely brilliant series. That is probably some of the best writing I have seen on TV in a long time. It's got some really good comedic elements without getting into the uncomfortableness of a sitcom. Martin Short and Steve Martin are brilliant. Selena Gomez is amazing to be able to keep up with the 2 of them, because those 2 have been working together for decades. They're doing comedy together now. It's like, the old comedy duos of like Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, or Abbott and Costello, stuff like that. These 2 just have this rapport, and this young actress gets dropped in the middle of it, and she holds her own, and that's just amazing. It's such a fun cast. You got Nathan Lane, Tina Fey, Sting, Jane Lynch joins the show in the most recent one I haven't seen yet, but she's supposed. Steve Martin plays an ex-70s or 80s detective series. He's an actor who was the lead in a detective series, and she plays his stunt double. Jane Lynch is his stunt double. If they hadn't gotten Jane Lynch, I would have suggested Patrick Stewart, because the two of them look close enough that it would actually work. But so if you were looking for something on Hulu, I do recommend Only Murders in the Building. And at this point, 9 episodes are out, and the final one comes out early next week. So you could binge the hell out of that, and it would be well worth your time. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. We got Hawkeye, but we don't have any Marvel or Star Wars coming out right now, and that's makes me a little anxious, a little antsy. I need some more Marvel. I need some more Star Wars. I need some more Disney Plus stuff. And like I said, the new Turner and Hooch is not going to cover it for me. So I'm actually going back and watching the Guardians of the Galaxy animated series. Eternals is coming November 5th. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Looking forward to that. But I need my weekly fix, man. And I'm thinking starting after Book of with Hawkeye, then Book of Boba Fett, there's a good chance we're going to be getting this stuff just continuously. And that's the dream, right? Every week you get something new from Marvel or Star Wars, or even better, if you got something new from Marvel and Star Wars. But a lot of these shows are wrapping production. We should start getting some trailers. There's Disney Plus Day is coming up in November. I think it's November 12th. And there's going to be a Boba Fett special that they're going to do. Now, that's probably going to be something like the Marvel Legends, where they just kind of give you the background on the character. But either way, it'll be something new. And then we should also get teasers and stuff for other things coming up. This will be their big announcement day for Disney Plus. So I think we'll learn a lot more about dates on some of the shows that we're expecting. We might get some more teasers, might get to see footage from Ms. Marvel. I believe they've started production on Secret Invasion. They're doing stuff on Moon Knight. So maybe we'll start seeing some of that stuff coming in next month. And don't forget, DC Fandom this Saturday. You're going to get a lot of teasers and stuff there. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping this up. Stick around tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. What's in the Box with Miss Jen, as she goes through this week's box that has Sailor Moon stuff in it. There's some high-end modern G.I. Joe figures, some graphic novels. Always fun. So you definitely want to stick around for that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. I will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.